most people, unfortunately, fail when it comes to stir frying at home. But it's really easy to do. You just need to know a few tricks and tips, and you will have successful stir frying at home, I promise. Now, if you have one of these great woks like I do, this is a steel wok. It's pretty thin, but it really does conduct a lot of heat. And that's really what you need when you're stir frying. You need a high heat. If you don't have a wok like this at home, you could certainly use a cast iron skillet like I have here, or even a fry pan, which has a nice amount of surface area, which will give you really great browning. And that's what you're looking for. So today I'm gonna be making a pork stir fry with broccolini and carrots, but really you can mix this up with any different type of proteins or vegetables. I'm gonna start with a flavorful marinade for the pork. So I have 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, and cornstarch really helps in thickening the marinade, which ultimately will end up as the sauce for your stir fry. This is 2 teaspoons of dry sherry, which adds really great flavor. And I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. Now, one of the most common problems people have when they're stir frying is that they end up with a watery stir fry, something that almost steams instead of fries. And so a way to avoid excess moisture is to add cornstarch to your marinade, because what that does is it thickens during the cooking process and it eliminates any loose extra moisture. So this mixture here goes right onto 12 ounces of pork tenderloin. And this just really needs to sit and marinate for about 10 minutes. So while your pork is marinating, you want to make sure that you mise en place or ready all of your vegetables that you're going to be stir frying. So in front of me here, I'm using broccolini today. This is 1 big bunch of broccolini, about 8 ounces. You want to make sure that your pieces are all evenly cut so that they cook at the same rate. I have 2 carrots that are cut into a nice julienne like this, and I have 2 scallions cut into 1-inch sticks here. To start with the stir fry, I'm using a wok again, and I have this cranked up to the highest heat setting. You really need your wok to be at its highest temperature possible. And to test whether or not it's super hot, you can take a little bit of water and splash it in the pan, and it should pop up and dance and almost immediately evaporate. So our wok is super hot, it's ready to go. Now, what you need here is a tablespoon of oil, and since our wok is so hot, you need a high heat oil. So make sure that you use a neutral flavored oil that has a high smoke point, like safflower oil, grapeseed oil, even peanut oil has a really high smoke point. And what you wanna do, you wanna make sure that you're not overcrowding your wok. That is one of the most important things. If you overcrowd the wok, what you're doing is you're steaming everything and you're not getting a good sear. So if you have to do this in batches, do it in batches. So I'm gonna take half of this pork mixture and scatter it in the bottom of the pan in an even layer. And do not do what you want to do, which is something we always tend to do with meats and stuff that we're grilling, is try and move the pork. Because what you want to do here is get a good sear. So leave it for about a minute to get a nice sear on one side, and then you can start moving the pork around the pan. So you can see that the pork is starting to become opaque around the edges, and this is when you know that you can start moving the pork around, because it's created a nice sear and it should come off the pan easily. Move the wok around, move the spoon around. So the pork is nicely seared, and now what you're gonna do is just scrape this out onto a plate. And so now for this second batch of pork, oil again, pork goes in. And now you can add the aromatics. So I have garlic that I finely minced. I have some ginger that I've cut into a nice matchstick size, and 2 Thai bird chilies. So the pork looks nice and cooked through. This goes right onto the plate here. Now you want to reheat the wok, and if there's any little bits of garlic or anything else that would burn during reheating, you can just take a cloth to this and kind of scrape up those bits. So now bring this back up to the highest temperature possible again before you add your vegetables. So I think our wok is hot enough. It's smoking, the water is bubbling and popping, almost evaporating. Add a little bit more oil. And now what you want to do with your vegetables is start with the biggest pieces of vegetables. So add your broccolini in a nice even layer. You can hear right away that it's cooking at a high heat. All of that sizzling, and that's what you want. Add a little bit of salt and give this a stir. So shake the pan, move the broccolini up along the sides of the pan. So the broccolini is just starting to turn a wonderful emerald color. You can see it's getting really shiny. I'm gonna move it up to the sides of the wok, leaving a space in the very center. Now, if your pan seems a little dry, add a teeny bit more oil and add the carrots right in the center. So once the carrots have been in for about a minute, then you can add your scallions. So you want to make sure that with whatever vegetables you're using, that none of your vegetables are wet from washing. Make sure you dry them thoroughly, because all of that excess moisture will cool down your wok and encourage, again, that steaming instead of getting that nice steer that you're looking for with a stir fry. The vegetables should be crisp tender, not too soft. And now I'm going to add back the pork and all of the aromatics. Now you want to make sure that if there are any juices left, that you add those as well, because that will end up being your stir-fry sauce here. So this looks good. It smells so great. And of course, what do you want to serve your stir-fry with? Well, how about some nice long grain rice? I'm using jasmine rice here. So there you go, guys. There's no need to order takeout and no need to fear stir-frying at home with these tricks and tips. I promise you, you'll have success with whatever vegetables or meats you decide to try. Enjoy, guys.